Hello, this is Dan Allford. Welcome to Dan's Cadre of Expert. Today I've got a guest that I've known for a long time, Randy Holmes. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
So, if memory serves me, we met maybe 10 years ago because you were the range officer at one of the local handgun ranges here.
Yes, it's probably even been longer than that. Was looking at something not long ago and realized it's been a long time. So
Yeah.
I think that battle rifle class we took was working its way towards 10 years ago.
That's true. So, and since then,
Yeah.
we shoot together. We've taken a few classes together.
Yeah.
And you're also, what's your day job? Tell us what you do.
I'm a chiropractor.
And I gotta tell you, I'm very skeptical about your profession until I
As you told me.
did a test. I did a race where one of the things was we had to wear a backpack and run, something I no longer recommend. And in the process of training for this, I damaged my back. I was pretty much crippled. I was so desperate. In spite of my skepticism, I went to you, and
I knew if you were that desperate that I knew I couldn't lose there, because worst case scenario, I meet your expectations, which is nothing.
you exceeded them. It was amazing. And so I'll put in my pitch for chiropractic because after that, just a couple of sessions, I was able to start running again. And they say motion is the lotion, so I started to exercise. So I'll give it to you. You guys actually are doing some good.
Thank you. Even a blind squirrel finds an acorn once in a while and all. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. So is this a contradiction here? You're a medical professional, do no harm, and then you're a gun instructor and a shooter and a range officer.
I don't see that as a conflict. The obvious do no harm thing is that in general, guns are used without actually having to fire them to de-escalate lots of crimes, way more often than they do harm. And everything in the world's a trade-off. I mean, if you look back, say 150 years ago, and said, if you could get from here to somewhere else faster than you could possibly imagine, and you can do that easy and more comfortable than sitting on a stupid horse or walking, but we're gonna take 50,000 people a year out of the country. Most people would go, what? But that's the trade we made for driving cars.
Right. Going around 20 gallons of flammable fuel.
Right. All kinds of good stuff like that.
Oh, I agree with you. I was just
Yeah.
talking to the audience here. Here you are, a professional with a gun, and there's a lot of stereotypes on gun nuts. So you gun nut?
Well, if I say in one of the coastal states, they would call me that. In Texas, they'd call me just a normal
Underachiever.
underachiever. Yeah, an underachiever, definitely.
So, has this spread to your family? How many kids you got?
I have 7 kids.
Yeah, okay.
And there's a possibility of brain damage somewhere. At least that's what people tell me. But I like all of them, so and I'm keeping them all.
A couple of them are shooters, though, at least.
I have made them all take at least a 2-day defensive handgun class so that they can be safe with guns. And 5 of my kids are boys, and boys are curious. So the rule at my house is, if you want to see my guns, I will be happy to unlock the safe and let you hand them and get your little grubby, stinky fingers all over them until you're bored and want to go, disassemble the stove or whatever other thing little boys got on their next list. And, anytime you want, you could touch them, and I'll be making sure you don't point them somewhere wrong and all that stuff, and then put them away after I have to wipe them all off again. But I feel like appeasing their curiosity is much safer, but also you're teaching them the safety rules as they go. And then when they're old enough to actually go shooting, then take them out and say, hey, let them realize this is loud, but it's fun. And yeah, in fact, one of my sons is an instructor as well.
What are you doing for the range nowadays? You're a range officer.
I help run the Wednesday shooting group. I do the holster certification class, and I teach a handgun fundamentals class when they have it scheduled.
Are we going to give a shout out to your range?
Yeah, Full Armor Firearms on I-10. They are a great range, and they're loads of fun.
And the holster thing you just mentioned, most ranges will not let you work out of a holster, which I find ironic because the safest place to store a pistol is in a holster.
One would think, yeah. At our range, if you go through the class, then they will allow you to actually practice out of the holster at the range. All the lanes have benches, and what they do is they have, if you're certified, you go in and they will unlock the bench, put it up out of the way, so when you're drawing, you won't hit the bench and have a problem. And then when you're done, you put the bench back down, lock it back down, and they'll allow you to actually work out of the holster, which is unusual.
Most ranges don't allow that.
A lot of the private ranges won't let you do that. I'm a member of 2 private ranges, and one of them will not let you work out of the holster, and just seems.
You ought to cancel your membership.
Well, now that I'm a member of the other one, I'm considering it, but.
The more you know, the safer you are. Have you had any negligent discharges at the house with all those boys?
No.
Good for you.
No.
They used to call them accidental discharges.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that term. I'd say anytime a firearm goes off and you're not expecting it, that is negligence.
Yeah, none of them. Yeah. Unless somebody has done something really stupid to your gun, like jacked with the sear and the trigger or something, they will not go off unless you press the trigger. Now, some people modify guns to a point where dropping them will make them go off, or some really, really old revolvers. If you've got one in the chamber and it's a 200-year-old revolver and you drop it on the hammer, it might go off. But most guns will not go off if somebody didn't put something on the trigger, generally their finger, which is a bad idea.
So that's what we teach people at the range, and I'm sure it's part of your class, is if you drop it, let it fall, because it won't go off.
Absolutely, yeah. If it's a modern firearm, then it should be fine. If it's anything less than 100 years old and you drop it, you're better off letting it hit the ground.
While we're on the subject of training and safety, I assume you have we used to call them concealed handgun license. What's the new term? License to carry now?
Yeah, they're calling them LTCs now. I have one. Yes, I do, and I advocate for it. We have passed in our state constitutional carry, which allows you to, you in general, you can carry a gun in Texas a lot, but you get a lot more grace if you have a license to carry. There are some places where if you have a license and you carry in there, they're going to go, hey, you're not supposed to be here, leave, you're a dingbat. Whereas if you go in there and you don't, they're going to go, wait right here, we have some guys that need to talk to you, and you're going to probably not enjoy the conversation. The other thing, one of the other reasons that I advocate having a license to carry is if you want to buy the newest, coolest Glock 406 or whatever their newest model is going to be, and you go in there, you have to sit there and they have to fill out the NICS thing, and some days the whole FBI thing's not working, and
this is a background check.
Yeah, the background check that you have to do. And if that's not working, or if there's everybody and his neighbor is buying one, then you might be standing there for anywhere from 20 minutes to 2 hours twiddling your thumbs, which, as the people in the store are probably happy that you're shopping to buy more junk. But in general, if you want to get your gun and go out to the range, you're stuck until that process finishes. If you have the license to carry, you hand that to them, they copy down all the data off that, and they know you've already had an FBI background check, and therefore they can just hand you the gun and you're out the door in 10 minutes and off to the range to go test your new toy.
And I'm a big advocate, obviously. I would have just assumed they not created the constitutional carry law, and because I think it's not a big imposition to take the license to carry class. You actually get some useful information. You have to prove some competency. And what I've read is the people that have this license to carry are 1/7 as likely to commit a crime as people that are not. So just the mere fact you have this license means you're probably a law-abiding citizen.
Much, yeah, much better than the average citizen as far as likelihood of committing a crime or anything like that. Yeah, that also tells people, hey, this person's been a background check. This guy's definitely not a felon. This guy's, a responsible human in this state.
Not that it happens often, but if anytime have a traffic stop, the rules in Texas were that you handed the cop both your driving license and your license to carry.
It goes back and forth, yeah.
Right, and then you don't. I still do, and
Better safe than sorry.
And I find it interesting. The police officer now knows that I probably have a weapon, but it diffuses the situation. He knows that I don't have a record, probably not a criminal,
Right.
and typically we end up having a conversation about guns, and then I'll leave.
Yeah. I've been known to be in a hurry on the roads once in a while, and have therefore had the opportunity to have a conversation with one of the guys with pretty lights on top of their car. And yeah, that comes up too. I always give them mine as well, because once upon a time you had to do it, and then it was only if you have your gun and this and that or not, and it's like, you know what, if I just hand them to them, then I don't have to. I know I'm erring on the side of caution, and yeah, a lot of times that brings the conversation up on firearms and stuff like that.
Indeed. Okay, well, how do you feel about open carry? Open carry is the new Texas law where you no longer have to conceal your weapon.
I think that open carry is, I think the law should allow it. If you're out running around on your ranch, and you're carrying your gun
That's
to
private
shoot
property.
right, but you're carrying it to shoot a snake, and then you go, you know what, I need to run to the feed store and get something. You don't have to worry about, oh, now I got to go change holsters or whatever. Or throw on a jacket when it's 162 in Texas.
Look a little suspect right there.
Yeah, exactly. And then you could just drive off and not worry about it. That being said, once the law came out,
Do you ever see it?
the number of times I've open carried in Texas, except for occasionally after we shoot Wednesday nights, we'll walk across the parking lot and eat in the restaurant across.
And they're used to you.
They're used to all of us, and we're all, and it's a pile of us. And a lot of times I'll be still wearing my gun when I go over there. But aside from that, I don't carry out in public. I would certainly not carry open, because if something goes down in the mall and I'm in the mall, I don't want to be the first guy they shoot. And I promise you, the guy with the gun is the first guy they're shooting. Yeah. So no, thank you. I'd rather be able to just exit that situation without any extra holes. That doesn't seem good.
Well, I would just assume it had never passed. That's just me, though.
Yeah. And it's back to we're going to have Wild West, everybody's going to die, we're going to have all these shootouts, people are going to grab guns. Yeah, none of that happened. I've seen maybe half a dozen people open carry since the law passed, and that's few years ago. And one of them was my buddy who just wanted to do it just because he said,
Does he want to be shot first?
No, he is just a bit of a rebel rouser boy, and
another reason to make it illegal.
Right. Well, and by that I mean not that he ever starts trouble, but he's just like, I'm allowed to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to dinner with this, and I've never seen him carry one since. So, other than concealed, but he's like, I'm allowed. I can legally do this, and I'm going to. And of course, he is a lawyer, so that may be part of the problem.
Well, at least he got it out of his system. In Texas, forever, you could carry a long gun. That means a shotgun or a rifle open. Fortunately, people seldom do that. But, I think that's kind of the same thing with the pistols now. It's legal, but probably questionable, and it raises more fears than...
Well, I don't think it's great advocacy for firearm ownership in that
Thank you.
when you're out doing that, what's happening is you're annoying people, you're scaring people, you're confronting people, and I think a lot of people's prejudices need to be shaken up a little bit, but that's kind of an abrupt and unlikely to help way of doing it. You're not going to get them on your side by making them crazy. If you can figure out a way to have a conversation, that's one thing. But I don't think that's a great conversation starter, although it will start a conversation.
Is that the one you want? Instead, you know what I'm thinking about doing? I'm going to bring medical professionals on my podcast that also carry guns.
Excellent plan.
That's
you should do that.
Mm-hmm. By the way, you didn't get the memo on the Hawaiian shirts.
I am sorry. I know you're stickler on time, so I did not go home and get a Hawaiian shirt, and I probably should have one like that.
Yeah.
You know,
all the cool guys have one.
If you were a good guy, I would have one of those before I went home.
Why don't you go see the concierge? Maybe he has a.
I'll check. Yeah, I'll wear it. And yes, I'm down to only maybe 24 Hawaiian shirts. My peak of my collection was around 50.
So you're an instructor, you're a range officer, and you train with the cool guys on Wednesday. Are you still taking any classes?
Yeah.
It's a never-ending deal, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. I mean, anything that you do that you like and you're interested in, you should continue learning in. I mean, any profession has to take classes every year to maintain that profession.
Particularly medical, right?
Yeah. I mean, we have a certain number of hours that we have to do to maintain a chiropractic license. On a bad year, I'll usually get 3 times that. But literally for probably the first 10 or 15 years of my practice, I would exceed by 30 or 40 times the number of hours that I had to get because I wanted to learn everything and know everything. And I think once you get, no matter where you're at, once you think you know everything, it's probably time for one of your friends to slap you on the head or for you to start looking around again because probably you don't know everything.
Or you can come to our Wednesday night and
right.
Gary will beat you.
Gary will smoke us all. Yeah.
And he'll humble you and you'll work hard.
Yeah, but you can beat Gary. The way to beat Gary, for everybody that knows Gary, the way you beat Gary is make it a finite number of bullets and you're not allowed to shoot more.
He can't control himself.
Yeah, he can't. Yeah, if there's bullets in the mag, he's putting them in the target. Yeah, they're all going to be in the target. But, he just won't get the right number.
Let's talk about people on the other end of the scale. So there's a lot of folks, they'll buy a gun. I've heard the story. They'll buy a revolver and they'll buy 6 bullets to go with it. Yeah. So they're not training, right? They're not training, and they think that this is like a magic...
A John Wayne movie.
Well, yeah.
Where they magically will rise to the occasion regardless of whether they have any skill or practice. And that's a horrible way to look at it because it doesn't work out that way.
I probably shoot 200 rounds dry fire. That's just practice without bullets because my wife doesn't like me shooting real live ammo in the house.
Bullets in the wall.
Yeah, so it's at the house. It's all dry fire, but then another 100 on Wednesdays, and Gary still beats me. But so speak to that. I mean, I don't know if you have any experience. Have you talked to anybody that's made that assumption that merely owning a weapon would save them, and they learned otherwise? But
I have fortunately not run across anybody that bought a weapon, thought it would save them, and found out the hard way that in fact won't happen if you don't train with them. I have been fortunate enough that anybody that has that thought in their head,
you don't hang out with them?
Yeah, well, either A, I don't hang out with them, or B, I talk them out of that thought and talk them into training and invite them to go training.
Because it's cheap. What's our Wednesday night? $20?
Yeah, it's for $20 plus bullets.
The ammo costs more.
Yeah, the ammo costs more. but when COVID happened and bullets were scarce and expensive, we just did more precise work and not as we didn't do bill drills where you're putting 6 bullets in a target. It's like do one, and so you can limit your expense if that's an issue for you and you choose to. But yeah, it's not expensive at all. I mean, golf is way worse. lots of other things are way more expensive than that. And I find that shooting is fun. One of the reasons I started instructing is at working at a range. Yeah, A, it makes me better, but B, I figured out that when people were interested, I would go take them. And so I was paying to take people to go shooting and teaching them how to shoot. And it kind of got to, well, you know what? If I'm teaching people to shoot and paying to do it, maybe I could get paid to do it. And that'll decrease my cost of my hobby.
But how much is the holster class? It's not much money.
$25.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
nobody's got an excuse.
No, there's no excuse.
To the folks out there that aren't shooters, they probably think that all the gun guys are the same. But let's talk about, I can think of at least 4 different ways you can go shoot guns. There's the cowboy guys.
Oh, yeah.
They're running the old school guns.
That is so fun to watch them when they do that.
They're wearing the costumes and having fun. And,
oh, yeah.
And that's not me, but that's a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing. And it was, I got to go watch a batch of guys do that, and we got to walk through and go through the saloon and shoot the bad guy and climb into the stagecoach and shoot out the window at the targets and stuff. It was really fun. I could see where that would be addictive, but it was not anywhere close for me, and that wasn't as fun as just the training that we do. But I could see where a person could really start having a good time doing that.
And everybody's got nicknames and all that.
Oh yeah, they are. Yeah. One-eyed Jack, and all their names. It was quite interesting.
Then on the other extreme, on the guys that are, I would say IPSC.
Yeah.
So they're running guns that really aren't practical for the street.
Oh, absolutely not.
I've probably just insulted hundreds of people, but
yeah. Well, and not only that, but they got these the race rigs. The holster that it barely clips onto the trigger guard.
Right.
And and there's no way you could run around with something like that and not.
And they're going to beat us because they don't have to draw the weapon; they bring it straight out the front, and that's a group too.
They're gonna smoke us at that, but that's a game, and they're having a good time. And
International Practical Shooters Association.
Yeah, and they're they're phenomenal shooters.
Oh yeah, they're going to beat us.
But, yeah, probably. But one of the problems that I see with a lot of those guys is they have bad tactical habits.
They always unload at the end of a round.
Right, they do that, and that's just muscle memory thing. As soon as they're going boom, 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 then they empty their gun. And if the bad guy has 3 friends that walk around the corner, they're like, "Oops," because you revert to what you've trained, what you've done over and over and over, especially under a high stress. And the other thing is they'll jump in the middle of a space to shoot all the targets.
Maybe you wouldn't want to do that in the real world.
Yeah, in the real world, you're probably better off shooting the targets as you see them and hide behind the corner, and as opposed to jumping out in the middle of the hallway where every single guy on the other team is shooting at you. If cardboard targets don't shoot back, so it's not that big a deal, but it's a bad habit, and it's not as fast the way you or I would be inclined to do it, but hopefully safer if you ever get the unfortunate opportunity to test your training.
But it's a lot of fun, I've got friends that do it, so that's another way. And then there's IDPA, which is now in that case they're frequently carrying guns that are a little more like what you might carry on the street.
Yeah.
And then there's us.
Yeah.
Explain ours. We don't have an organization, but we're running a hot range. That means you don't unload at the end. Yeah, which so everybody remains holstered, and yet we've never had a negligent discharge.
Yeah, we I'm of the opinion that every time you're loading and unloading a gun, that's the opportunity to have a problem,
Right.
an accident. And as was mentioned when that idea came up when I joined in the group that was doing that, it's like, if you, in fact, I think it's Greg who I first heard say that, if you have loaded and unloaded guns, then pretty soon you're going to confuse loaded for unloaded.
And you start
that
treating them
becomes a
differently.
problem. Yeah, you treat them different. You have a problem because that shouldn't be it. So they should all be always considered loaded, which is the rule number one from the 4 universal safety rules is treat every gun as if it's loaded. And if so, then there's no good reason that it's not. Therefore, you know, and if we trust you to run as fast as you can and shoot at targets as fast as you can, we probably ought to trust you to carry your gun with bullets in it.
In the holster.
In the holster. Yeah, at our range, you're not allowed to touch, take the gun out of the holster until it's your turn to shoot. But you don't have to unload it and reload it every time. And our Wednesday group is more about trying to build your practical skills in case you need them, but still have a really good time doing it.
Right. Good camaraderie, good people.
Yeah, we have great people. Yeah, if they're not poking at you, they don't know you yet, or they don't like you. They're mad at you. But in general, we're having fun poking at each other, and it's a great time and a great group of people. They're all really, really good people.
Very inclusive group.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime we get a new shooter in there, they always feel welcome.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's common to shooters in general.
Well, what's really crazy about how common shooters and how good shooters are? It's like you show up and you're the new guy, and you're like, "Oh man, I don't have this." Somebody go, "Well, I got one. You can borrow mine."
Here's some ammo.
Yeah, and yeah, I didn't really know that how much to bring. I only brought 20 rounds. Here's 100 rounds. Don't worry about it. And yeah, I mean, I literally was hearing somebody that had went to a competition, and all their stuff didn't get made there, and all the other competitors put together a kit for them to be able to compete.
Not at all surprised.
Yeah, it's like, no, it surprised me none, but it's like, would that happen in any other sport?
No.
I don't think so. I mean, I just don't see that as happening. Mm-hmm. But it's funny how inclusive the group is.
Everybody's pretty passionate about it. All right, you gave me the first rule of gun safety. Always treat guns like they're loaded. What are the other 3, since we now have an opportunity to spread the knowledge?
Yeah, never point your firearm at anything you're not willing to destroy.
Good idea.
In my life, that includes all of my body parts, all of my family's body parts, a lot of the stuff like the TV and, things like that I see some people pointing their guns out in order to practice, might not want to do that. Keep your finger off the trigger and outside the trigger guard unless your sights are on the target. And, we're pretty big sticklers about that on Wednesday night too. We're training people. We don't scream at anybody, but
I've heard you yell finger before.
Yeah, but not in a screaming mad way. It's just, hey, remember. Mm-hmm. And, whereas some people get a little more, stressed and upset, but we figure everyone's big kids and we're trying to just get better, so we don't want to be mean. And the 4th rule is know your target, know what's beyond your target and between you and the target. If you're shooting in a house, for instance, sheetrock walls will not stop a 9mm bullet. It's going to go through
several,
probably 3 walls, give or take. And that means even though you can't see your daughter and her friend on the other side of the wall, you need to know they're there. And
don't take the shot.
Yeah, don't take the shot. With that in mind, what I often tell people is in class is like, if they're coming to see me to learn how to run a gun for home defense, it's like, okay, walk through your house and go, if this, then what? If I hear bump in the night and jump up and see a scary person in the middle of my doorway and I shoot, what's on the other side of that scary person? Is it my daughter's bedroom? Then maybe I shouldn't take that shot. If I get out of bed on the other side of the bed, does that change it? One of the other instructors, if he gets out of bed on one side, his kid's room is straight out the door. if he gets out of bed on the other side, the refrigerator's there. So it's like, if I have a choice between damaging my kid
Kill
or
the
damaging my
refrigerator.
fridge, see you later, fridge. Having walked through that in a calm, peaceful time gives you the opportunity to game plan all this stuff, which is also part of the running drills and stuff we do on Wednesday nights. Is you start learning how to how do I go around a corner and have to shoot and things like that. That's part of what we do in the group on Wednesday night, and different classes teach different things like that. But you want to plan stuff out in your head while you're calm, because everything in the world that deals with stress and physiology will tell you that you don't think really well when you're under stress. In an emergency situation, you're going to revert to whatever you've done before, whether it's right or wrong.
Muscle memory, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Lowest level of training.
Yeah, like the police officer in, I think it was California, that was killed. He got in a gunfight with some bad people on the highway, I think, and when they found him, he had his gun there, and he had like all of his bullet shells lined up on the dash or on the thing in his car, because the training, the range that he worked at, or that he trained at with the police department, required you to empty your gun, line up all your shell casings, reload, and take your next string of shots. But in between, you had to empty it because the guy didn't want to clean up the brass afterwards. So bad training. But this poor guy had done that so many times. In the middle of a freaking gunfight, he empties his gun and lines up his shell casings. It's like, yeah, that's because he was busy doing what his lower brain did before. He was not able to think, because who thinks when somebody's shooting at you? Your upper brain's not working. Your lizard brain is busy at that point. It's way in charge.
I've got a funny example of that. You might be old enough. You remember Miami Vice, what used to be a fun program, with Don Johnson.
Yeah.
And they had a competitive shooter. I think his IPSC shooter.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that episode? Okay. And so in that episode, the IPSC shooter, they didn't give him any lines because he couldn't act, but he could shoot. And he was extremely fast. And so all he had to do was act like an assassin, draw the gun, shoot somebody, put the gun down. And I read about this later, and as soon as he shot the guy, he unloaded and put the gun down, because that's what he had been training to do his whole life. And after he did it, he realized, but they left it in because it was kind of like, I wonder why he did that. And so, but that you revert to whatever you've been training to do.
Yeah.
And so do
right
it right
or wrong. So you want to make sure that what your training is what you want. You want to be able to do at the time.
So if somebody decided they did want to come play with us on a Wednesday, they got to get through the holster class, have to own a weapon, get through the holster class, do a couple of classes with you, or what's the system?
Well, we want them to have had at least a fundamental handgun class. We want them gone through a holster.
Where do you recommend they do that?
Fundamental handgun class?
You want to do that at your range?
Sure, full armor firearms, but anywhere competent that that if you've gone through a class and you're a competent shooter, then you're generally welcome with us.
That's the irony of the license to carry. They don't teach you anything about holsters.
No, they don't. Yeah, it's like, you can carry this gun, but we're not going to tell you anything about how to carry the gun.
And a pistol without a holster is dangerous.
Yeah.
Don't put it in your pocket.
Ask Plaxico Burress, right?
Yeah, right.
The holsters are good. But the number of holsters is, gosh, there's probably more different kinds of holsters than there are different kinds of cars.
And there's more bad ones than good ones.
Yeah, well, there's that too. And I know that you got the big bucket full of holsters that you bought, tried,
Certainly
and
not.
went, yeah, I don't want
maybe
this.
it's you.
Yeah, just like I do, and everybody else who does much of that. So yeah, if you decide that you're going to carry, hit up all your friends so that they can loan you all the ones that you can see you don't really want, and then they can tell you which one to buy, because you're going to go, that's expensive, and then when you realize buying 3 cheap crappy holsters and throwing them in the closet costs as much as buying one good one the first time that you're going to like. So, and that might change over time, as to where you're carrying, how you're carrying, and stuff like that. But, and or where, what you're doing. If you're carrying in different places, you might want different firearms. But I've determined that guns are a lot like women's shoes. You just can't have too many, apparently.
Interesting. So this, I did the math based upon FBI data, and I think once every 7 lifetimes you're going to need to have a gun. So it's not very likely.
Yeah.
And then so people say, like, why bother? Well, I've been carrying a fire extinguisher in my truck for almost 30 years. Once I saw a car fire, I was excited. I was going to get to use it. I run over. I learned you're not supposed to do this since then, but I popped the hood.
Bad idea.
Don't do that. Well, I didn't know it. I popped the hood, and it was just steam. I was like brokenhearted. I didn't get to use my fire extinguisher, but I'm still carrying it. And that's my point. Yeah. Just because I carry tourniquets. I haven't used those either. But it's all a matter of being prepared.
You know what? I have life insurance on my wife and insurance on my house, and if my life is really, really good, I'm going to just keep sending them premiums and never actually claim.
Put that off as long as you can.
Yeah. My hope is I will never have the unfortunate opportunity to have to present my firearm in a situation I don't want to be in.
Yep. Have you ever drawn a weapon?
I have not had to do that.
Me either, and I don't expect to.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've noticed about particularly the people that are law-abiding, like the licensed people, but I also noticed it with martial arts, because I did a decent amount of that as well, is that one of the things you learn in martial arts and which I guess firearms is a subcategory of martial arts, is that watch your surroundings, and if things look sketchy, leave. And don't be there. And so as you're watching and going, yeah, something doesn't feel right, I'm out of here. Mm-hmm. And there's probably plenty of times when you've looked at something and went, yeah, I don't think I'm going to go down that road, or I'm not going to go in that store today, or I'll get gas tomorrow in the daylight, or whatever, where something happened, but you made that decision already not to be there. So even though something might have happened where you might have been stuck doing that, because you had enough sense to go, yeah, I don't think so, you didn't have to. And that's kind of contrary too, probably to what a lot of people think gun people are. Us normal ones don't want to use it.
No, it's the last resort. And I like the Heinlein saying that an armed society is a polite society.
Yeah.
And I think that's true.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the way people are so rude now, and that seems like that's gotten a lot worse lately, in that, I guess particularly with keyboard warriors, where you can say anything to somebody
hiding behind a keyboard.
Yeah, because number one, you don't think there's repercussions, and number two, you don't really see how bad and mean that is. I think, in a society where you actually have to look the person in the eye and go, you're a horrible, Hawaiian wearing shirt guy and a guy, and you see that, that actually hurt their feelings. It's like, wow, I hope nobody ever does that to me. Maybe I won't do that anymore. Mm-hmm. Or they punch you in the mouth, then you might go, gee, maybe I'll moderate what I say. And and if they're armed, then even worse. I think when there's repercussions for bad actions,
exactly,
then people tend to try and moderate their bad actions.
That's why we have prisons. That's what
Yeah.
It works. That's what keeps society in line.
Yeah, and and you like to hope that if everybody actually treats other people the way they want to be treated, then we wouldn't need prisons or anything else.
Do unto others.
Would be nice. Yeah.
It's a simple matter.
Yeah. Wow, who'd have thought?
But I also tend to believe, maybe I'm naive, but I tend to believe that the fact that there's a bunch of guys here in Texas and gals that are carrying guns, it might stop some crime. People go like, that person might
Well-
be might be armed. Maybe I'll go do something else. So
I
I
think-
feel like we're part of the deterrent. I'd like to hope so.
I think the statistics prove that out. John Lott wrote book More Gun, Less Crimes, and he's an economist. I'm kind of a nerd. I read books by economists frequently.
Oh, I like Lott.
But he goes through county by county, state by state, whether it changed from this year to that year, and he just, like a typical economist, breaks everything down to all these little pieces and looks at it from this direction, from that direction, and all these different ways. And his book is not it's not exciting novel type reading. It's a little on the dry and economist written side, but it's very enlightening, and it pretty much shows that any way you break down the statistics, we are part of the deterrent. If we are potentially carrying a firearm, bad guys go find something else to do.
That's why I like concealed carry.
Right. Yeah. And
That way nobody
absolutely.
knows.
Yeah. No, that's it. Yeah, because now they look at 10 people and go, one of these guys has a gun. I don't know which one. So I am not going to go rob any of them, because what happens, one of the things that happens is when people start carrying firearms is criminals shift from confrontational taking stuff to sneaky taking stuff. In other words, instead of walking up and sticking hitting you over the head with a baseball bat and taking your wallet, or punching you and grabbing your junk, or junk like that, what they'll do is they'll break into the car when you're not there, or things like that, which still sucks, but it's better than having a gun pointed at you that they stole out of somebody else's car and go, give me your wallet. Both of them are horrible, but they stop doing they stop hitting people. They stop, pointing guns at people and things like that when they might have a gun pointed back at them. They'll start, breaking into empty houses and, things like that. So they modify their behavior. It's shown to do that. And they may or may not switch over to another, cross over state lines into a less deterring state as well, which of course that state goes, well, it's all the fault of Texas, but
I call those the criminal empowerment zones.
Criminal empowerment zones. Brilliant. That makes sense. And if they're going to do that, then it's like, yeah, you empowered them. Don't blame it on us. So, yeah.
I guess the bottom line here is you and I like the people, and we like the challenge of shooting. And so whether you're doing it for that or for self-protection or whatever, even medical professionals, such as yourself, are out there practicing martial arts in the form of firearms. And so that's kind of what the point I wanted to get across today. What did I miss? What else did you want to hit on today?
Wow. Geez. Healthcare professionals probably do that. It's surprising how many of them are into different things like that. And I think if you're interested, there are plenty of places, for instance, Full Armor.
Do you have a website at Full Armor?
There is a website, which I'm not smart enough to know the answer, and a Facebook page. I'm sure it's easy enough to find.
Full Armor Range, Houston, Texas. That'll get you there.
That'll get you there. And then you can rent guns, and if you've never, if you don't own one and you're thinking about it, and you don't have a typical Texas friend that's got a Texas starter kit of 12 different kinds of handguns, then you can go to Full Armor and hold a few and then rent them, the ones that feel good, and shoot them until you narrow yourself down to go, I really, really like this one, and then you can buy that one. And that way you won't buy one that you decide, yeah, this looks super cool, and my neighbor told me to buy it,
but I can't rack it.
But I don't like it. Yeah,
or
and
the trigger's too hard, or it's got a safety and I'll forget to turn it on.
Right, exactly.
It's 100 decisions you got to make.
Yeah, and most people ask, their friend who's in law enforcement, which, interestingly enough, law enforcement people aren't necessarily gun people, and many of them are not gun people, so they don't know that much about them. They just know what they've used in the academy. And there are, but there are people that have a lot and have tried a lot, and there's people that don't. But guns are tools, and if I need a screwdriver and I got a hammer, I still need a screwdriver. And so knowing what you want, somebody that can help you walk through what do you want it for, and help you figure it out, and then let you try a few in that particular category until you go, this is the one I really like, and then you can purchase it, and you won't end up getting something that doesn't serve your needs as you want, unless you're going to start a collection, in which case, what the heck, just buy a whole bunch.
So bottom line, go see Randy at Full Armor Range.
There you go. Do that. Come and see us.
It's been a pleasure having you on. We'll get you to come back again later on. And
It was fun. It was a great time.
thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.